I'm in a relationship I don't want to be in. Hi everyone. I've 26F been friends with this guy 30M for a few years. There's always been attraction there, but we both denied it. Recently, we admitted how we felt. It felt good. Now, though, I'm second guessing. I feel mighty uncomfortable. It's triggering my mental health. He's a lovely man, capable, loyal, dedicated to understanding me. But his love language is physical affection. I hate that, and constant I miss you, and if I respond and say I miss you too, he begins a miss you more contest. Truth is, I don't miss anyone. They're there. I can text, call, whatever. I only miss people when they're gone for a while. I haven't spoken to them in a few months or dead. Basically, our friendship was incredible. Now we're in a relationship. I feel mucky. Gross. I hate it and I want out. He hasn't done anything wrong, but we're not compatible sexually or even in our love languages. I tried to break up with him twice, but both times resulted in 4-hour conversations and him convincing me why it's worth staying. I spent a decade in domestic violence, have been out of violence for 2 years, but I do believe this is why I don't have the strength to leave. I don't like the fact he's convinced me so heavily and deeply that it's good for us. It isn't. It's good for him, and deadly for me. Being single is super important to my mental health. He knew this before we got together. I've communicated the whole way through that our relationship is murdering my mental health. That it's not his fault. He's a brilliant person. But the expectations of relationships are too much. I want to end it. I do not want to be convinced to stay. I want out for my own safety. If I don't, my brain will turn against me and I will suffer for it. Please help. How do I stop him from convincing me? Too long didn't read. I want to end this relationship, but my boyfriend spends hours convincing me that it's good for us. It is not. I am easily persuaded, and I need this to stop. He hasn't done anything wrong. I tried to break up with him twice, but both times resulted in 4-hour conversations and him convincing me why it's worth staying. That's something he's done wrong. Tell him it's over, in a situation where you can then end the conversation. Hang up, walk away, whatever. Don't indulge his desire to talk you out of it. Tell him straight up and then leave. If necessary, enlist a friend to come and collect you so you have a counterforce keeping you from second guessing yourself. Break up with him and then don't entertain the conversation. This isn't working for me, and if I continue this conversation, you're just going to convince me to stay, and that's not fair. I need to take care of my mental health. I won't reply to any of your messages for a while so I can have some space. Goodbye. Then hang up. And yes, it's okay to do this one not in person when he's going to try to manipulate you into staying. When he calls or texts you, do not respond. And to be clear, you keep saying he's a great guy and he hasn't done anything wrong, but it seems like he's done lots of things wrong by not respecting your opinions, boundaries, and mental health. Truth is, I don't miss anyone. They're there. I can text, call, whatever. But seriously, since he spends hours convincing you to stay, I think it's okay to send an email stating you need out for personal reasons and be done with it. I don't usually support one-way communications like that, but the phone conversations sound a bit manipulative on his part. If someone wanted to break up with me, I would respect that, not try to convince them otherwise. Some people just aren't right for each other. If you aren't happy, you have to break it off and stick with it. I'm a very put it all out on the table type of person. Sometimes you have to give it to them straight. Listen, before we got into this relationship, I told you how important it was for me to be single, for me and my mental health. I made it clear on multiple occasions. Since then, I've had my doubts about us, and each time you've convinced me to change my mind. I need you to respect me and my boundaries, as my feelings are the same. I don't think this is working out. I care for you very much, but you have to understand that this is my way of prioritizing my mental health and caring for myself. If you can't understand that, then I may need to go no contact with you. If he still tries pushing, then just restate what you've said. Be firm on your stance. You got this, op. I, 20F, don't know how to handle my brother, 24 meters, to the point where I can't stand him. So for context, My 20th brother, 24 meters, has always been super babied by my mother, to the point that all while growing up, me and my other siblings would have to clean the house while he would get to sit in his room and play on Xbox. If we got our stuff taken away for not cleaning or whatever, he always got to keep it. I've never been able to say anything remotely negative to him my whole life. If I got yelled at by my mom for attacking him or ganging up on him, it's always been my fault if he got mad because of something I said, even if I had every right to get onto him. She's gotten him all of his jobs, written all his resumes, pays his bills, etc. He's 24 now and she still does all this. When he was about 15 he got a job, at which he started smoking weed very heavily, started hanging out with the wrong crowd, all that kind of stuff. He eventually got himself expelled from school his senior year, kept a good job for a few years where he was getting paid pretty good since it was a trade, eventually got fired from it for starting physical fights with other people, kept getting and quitting jobs with no notice, went about a year just sitting at home doing absolutely nothing but blowing anything he'd saved up. He moved out about 2 years ago for a brief period of time, where he was staying in some not so nice parts of town where he was hanging out with people who do drugs. So who knows what he was getting himself into. Later found out while he was staying with these people he was paying their bills and buying them groceries, while my mother was still paying his. All during this he would turn his phone off and no one had any contact with him unless he decided he needed something. When he blew all that money he came back home and decided to sell everything he owned, and went right back to where he was before. He even broke into my dad's stuff and sold his stuff, even a family heirloom. All of it went to a pawn shop. When he ran out of things to sell he came back home for good. And of course, even how he's wronged her so many times, my mom welcomed him back with open arms. I feel like I should mention that at this point he had lost a considerable amount of weight. He finally got a new job, that he only goes to half the time, but still lies to my mom and tells her that he is going when in reality he's just driving around town wasting what little money he does have. Now he has apparently fallen into a deep depression and has spoken to my mom about how he has thought about killing himself and has held guns in his mouth in his bedroom. I feel for him, but I find it hard to believe anything he says. He has manipulated my mom since he was a kid. Lies to her about everything. And I mean everything. Even little things, like if he ate the entire box of cookies in the kitchen overnight. We all know he did it, but he will deny it till the end. When he's off work and at home, he will sleep all day and stay up all night eating everything in the kitchen, absolutely everything. To the point where I have to hide food in my room if I want to have something to eat the next day. He found out I did this and when I wasn't home he went in my room and dug around my dresser, closet, under my bed, everywhere to find it and eat it. And of course when confronted, he lies about it, even when getting caught doing it. He also has extremely bad anger issues. He's punched me before when I said the wrong thing to him. He's extremely aggressive. He has bragged to me multiple times about how he's good at manipulating people, gaslighting others, etc. There are holes all over the house from where he's gotten angry. I do not like being home alone with him. My sister and I are both in college, so when we are off at school, who knows if he's going through our things. After all of this, my mom still babies him, buys him new tires for his car, pays his insurance, all of that. He is a grown man. I do not like him, but I do feel bad for him. He does not make it easy to feel bad for him after all he's done. She doesn't tell the truth about him to anyone in my family. I think she knows how he is, but she still treats him like the golden child. My siblings, dad, and I all see how he truly is, but my mom apparently refuses to acknowledge it. I don't know what to do. If I bring it up to my mom, she yells at me and tells me I don't know what I'm talking about. Dr. My brother manipulates my mom and she doesn't see it, but had babied him his entire life. He is essentially the golden child who does no wrong, except he most definitely does. You have to just move out. Your mom has always been this way and it isn't going to change. You can't save her from your brother preying on her, and you can't save him from himself because your mom is too strong an enabler. I'll be blunt, you will never be able to fix him, and you will never be able to get your mother to see the reality of the situation. Focus on saving some money, moving out, and then severely limiting contact with your brother. Things will not change with them. You and your sister can only depend on yourselves. I feel sorry for your brother as her lifetime of indulging him has been extremely detrimental to his development. However, you do not have to indulge him, do whatever it takes to have firm boundaries with him. Buy a lock for your door and save your own money / look for resources to move out. Perhaps with your other sister. It seems like your brother may have an addiction problem, but certainly has a boundaries problem. As for your mom, she's very grown. It seems strange that your whole immediate family knows of his behavior, yet all the blame for enabling him is on your mother. Just something to think about. If you can't have a serious conversation with her and your family about how his behavior impacts your life, it's time to move on. Also, therapy for yourself to let go of the bitterness you feel towards them, even though it's well deserved. Honestly, I'd get yourself to Al-Anon or similar support group for the family of addicts. He is one, and your mother sounds like she enabled him and still does to this day. She's put them both in a very hard position, and to be fair to her, she may be right that there is no way to end it without him ending up in a very dangerous situation. She has, after all, groomed him to believe that if he just escalates enough, she will swoop in and make everything better. The first thing he'll do if she was to suddenly admit everything and say no more is test that. And look at his history. What do you think he would do to push her buttons? So, you need to understand and come to terms with the fact that both your mother and your brother are, unfortunately, lost causes. If they ever break that cycle, it won't be any time soon, and it won't be at your behest. What you need to work on in the meantime is grieving the mother and brother you should have had and adequately protecting yourself from both of them. Support groups or trained professionals can be very, very helpful with that. I'm really sorry you're in this situation. You deserve better. Is she being cheap or just frugal? My wife is notoriously known for being the type of person who likes to save, and I don't think that's bad either. But hear me out. Here are some things that made me think that she is actually being cheap and not just frugal. 1. She's been having back problems for months, and I have been asking her to get an X-ray. All those times, she refuses to go because it'll cost money. 2. We don't usually eat out, but when we do, she is very careful on where we should eat. She thinks $10/person is expensive. 3. We have 2 separate accounts for our salary, which I initiated because I was told it will help our situation. However, what she said was, okay, your account will purely be savings. Don't touch anything there. All our expenses will come from mine. Which I think defeats the purpose, since the reason I suggested that is so I'll have the independence to use my own money. 4. I always need her permission whenever I buy something, even if it's as personal as a shaving cream. I have to go through all the talks like, do you really need it and shit, before we could get it. 5. We went to a casino and he had $0.95 left, and she wanted to cash it out. She said she would give $0.5 so the cashier could give her $1 because she could use $1, apparently. 6. She thinks that she's being responsible for her money, or our money, by computing every little dollar that we spend. And that honestly makes me feel uncomfortable. P.S. We are both making good enough money to sustain us. We live comfortably, and I know we can travel if we want to. We're not in debt or anything too. What do you all think? I honestly would want her to go through counseling, but she said she doesn't need it because she is only doing what is right. Too long didn't read. I think my wife has some underspending habits that needs to be addressed, and they've been the cause of my frustrations lately. I honestly think she needs counseling, but she says she is just being responsible. What do you think?